Hey guys, so people either join groups or they expect from groups certain outcomes. And I've just picked three categories to talk to you about. If you go and search, reasons people join groups, you'll find lots of different ideas on that. You can break it down a million different ways. The first I'd like to talk about is just synergy. Synergy is what you think it is, I think. Simply that you recognize in working together with others, kind of two heads are better than one. You know that you can accomplish more with other people than you can by yourself, and so you're attracted to working as teammates. After all, we don't have the same exact skills, so where I shine, I can do my work, and then if I work with you, and you have skills in an area I don't, you can work in those areas, and together we have a lot of strength. So we look for that, and certainly as a manager, you should know that employees are looking for synergy in their own work outcomes by being together as a group. And often, of course, the opposite is the case. You're students, and so I know the frustrations you have oftentimes in working with others in a group. And primarily, what I hear students saying is, it would be easier for me to do it myself almost because there's actually a negative synergy. We have members of our group who are socially loafing. They're not actively getting the work done. They're sort of hiding out and not working hard. And we're carrying that dead weight. And of course, the project is designed for instance, 5 people, and we only have 4 active participants and someone who's socially loafing. It's very frustrating when a member of a group doesn't feel that there's synergy. That synergy often comes from the second category that I'm using, which is support and commitment. We join groups, or we are put in a group, and we expect from that group that we'll have the support of one another, the encouragement from one another, that because we're looking for synergy together as a group, where I don't shine and where I'm struggling with something, there'll be supportiveness from others, not only in terms of encouragement, but in terms of help. And commitment. We like to work with other people because it's hard to stay motivated all by ourselves. If we work with others, maybe you study with someone. One of the major compelling reasons that people have a study buddy is because when you're tired, the other person says, come on, let's go, we can get this done. Let's at least get to here and then let's take a break, or something like that. And so their commitment is shared with you, which enhances your own level of commitment and your own level of performance. The last, but certainly not the least reason, is interpersonal. And this, I think, we overlook in organizations quite a bit, probably primarily because we have this notion of professionalism as something that that doesn't belong at work. But interpersonal needs are met in the workplace, and employees almost always have a high expectation of getting interpersonal satisfaction from their workplace. What else can you expect when you're asking someone to go to work for 8 or 10 hours, 5 to 6 days of their week? That's almost all of your quality waking hours, and somehow put your interpersonal and social needs aside. That just doesn't happen. Included in those interpersonal needs is a need for inclusion. We all want to have a sense of belonging. So as a manager, when you form a group, or when a group forms under you that you allow just to self-form, be mindful that people need to get along to a certain degree and accept one another into the group. And if they're not, then the group's need for inclusion is not being fully satisfied. And you can intervene in that process. You can move people from one group to another, or you can counsel with members of the group and encourage them to include this new member or someone who's struggling in the group or something. You can intervene in that process, and should. The need for control. In a group, we have the opportunity to communicate with and cooperate with members of our group, and that feels wonderful. We don't often think about this, but it feels great to be able to have even a minor dispute with someone, a disagreement about how some work should be done, for instance, and listen to both sides or all sides of the arguments, and sometimes not be in complete agreement, but coalesce, agree. Okay, the majority of people feel this way, even though I'm a minority vote in this case, I'll go with the group. It feels good to be in control, to have voice, and also be in control to relinquish that responsibility for the outcome and say, this is a group outcome, but I'm a part of this. And the need for affection. This is not something that we like to talk about in organizations for some reason, but we all want to be liked, whether we want to admit it out loud or not. We all want to feel included. We all want to feel affection. And this is something that is overlooked and not recognized as a component of why people are in groups. If we'd recognize that people have the opportunity to actually have feelings of affection for one another because of the group that they're in, because of the work that they're sharing, in the experience that they're engaged in collectively, we can enhance that. We can do that by just, when we reward the group as a whole, we're essentially saying, I don't know who performed what, but overall you cooperated and worked together and you did well. And so it's a collective praise. And we're sort of facilitating that process of, we're giving our affection to the group as a whole. I think by just focusing on these and other needs that are met in group work, we can fine-tune our groups by selecting members a little bit more carefully, by talking with them with an understanding that what's happening in the group is more than just the accomplishment of work, but we're facilitating a social process that doesn't just have implications for this group task that they're engaged in currently, but for their work relations. And the better that work relations are, the more we should expect high-performing group outcomes. So we should be focused on these things. I don't think we often think about them, though, unfortunately. Hopefully you'll be the manager of the next generation. You'll recognize people come to work for far more than a paycheck. They come for a sense of inclusion, social satisfaction. They come to be high performers for the affiliation need, but also the sense of accomplishment and belonging. There's so much that these groups and teams mean to us in the workplace. Don't let your experience as a student jade you to the potential goodness of putting people together and working collectively in groups. It's a great feeling to work collectively.